to Egypt now, and he told me that his uncle, Sir Rowland Smith or some such name, had been fairly driven out of an old house in Surrey by ghosts. I'm sure he called it Harbledon Hall, and he said that his uncle was not in the least a nervous man, but it was more than he could stand, and he had to leave. I wish now I had asked him all about it, but he was such a dull chap. Nothing he said interested me, so I lost the chance of learning particulars. Don't be timid, dear mother. Let me tackle the bogies when I come home. I should enjoy nothing better. Mrs. Stackpoole did not like this at all. It produced an eerie and creepy sensation, and her husband took care not to increase her discomfort by telling her of his conversation with Mr. Shaw. "It is odd, my dear, very odd," he said, in his most cheerful tones, "and we are obliged to admit that somehow or other, someone or other received some sort of a fright at Harbledon Hall. Nothing can be more vague, yet that is all that is known about it. A pity the whole silly business was not inquired into on the spot, for of course it would admit of a perfectly simple solution. Very likely one of the maids had supped rather more heavily than usual on cold pork, and in a paroxysm of indigestion walked in her sleep. Someone saw her in her white nightgown, took her for a ghost, and got up for a scare. For it is always easier to cry out than to investigate. And there you have the history of the ghost story in a nutshell, my dear. In a nutshell." The workmen were punctually out of Harbledon Hall on the day agreed upon, and as punctually received their pay and Christmas supper, and the house was ready for the reception of the new tenant, with the good wishes of all who had helped to prepare it for him. Mr. Stackpoole arranged that his family should arrive after dark, that he might surprise his wife with the electric light in every room and passage, and introduce her to her new home under its most cheerful and attractive aspect. As they approached the house, both Mrs. Stackpoole and her daughter exclaimed with delight, and Ella said it was too pretty to be real. It was like something on the stage. From every window, from the basement to the garrets, streamed the pure radiance of the electric light, undimmed by curtain or blind, sending shafts of light far into the surrounding darkness. From the porch, the white light illumined the drive like a cold sunshine, and showed every pebble on the ground and every twig on the bare boughs. "There, my dears," said Mr. Stackpoole triumphantly, as he led his wife and daughter into the brilliant hall. "This is how modern science drives away foolish fears of darkness, by turning night into day. No one could be nervous or afraid of ghosts in a house like this." "No, indeed the thing would be impossible," replied Mrs. Stackpoole, her daughter and son-in-law in confident chorus. Christmas was kept with much festivity at Harbledon Hall, and it was impossible to say who was most delighted with the house, the host or hostess, or the guests under its hospitable roof. Each was charmed with his own room, but Mrs. Stackpoole's morning room was the general favourite, and afternoon tea was frequently taken there, in preference to the more stately drawing-room. The grandchildren played in the empty rooms upstairs on rainy days, and every evening watched the miracle of lighting the house with the electric light with breathless interest. They regarded Grandpapa as a light-producing wizard, so that something of awe was mingled with their wildest frolics, and they did not dare to open the door of his own particular room, which was respectfully called the study, though its principal use was to smoke in, or to take a quiet nap in before dinner. It was the end of January, and the Stackpooles were daily congratulating themselves on their good fortune in meeting with a house so perfectly suited to their requirements, when they wound up their festivities with a fancy ball. Several young people were staying in the house for the occasion, who were to depart the day after the ball, leaving their host and hostess for the first time alone in their new home. Numbers of guests were coming from a distance, many of whom had accepted the invitation out of curiosity, as a dance afforded a good opportunity of spending a night under cheerful auspices in a house with the reputation of being haunted. All their entertainments had so far been successful, but the last was to be the best, and Mr. and Mrs. Stackpoole threw their whole souls into the preparations to ensure its complete success. The room was charming, the floor perfect.